When the night is closing in and my heart is worn and thin, every tear I cry, you see, you are reaching out to me. When the weight is hard to bear and I'm lost inside despair, I remember Calvary. You have overcome for me. We rise by the power of Jesus Christ. Through the pain, through the fire, you are lifting us higher. No fear, no grave could ever hold the ones you save. You stand on your victory, stronger through the cross we sing. Though the storm may shake the ground, still your grace is all around. By your words we are restored, standing on your faithful word. When the battle feels too long, you become our healing song. In our weakness you are strong, you have carried us along. And we rise by the power of Jesus Christ. Through the pain, through the fire, you are always lifting us higher. No fear, no grave could ever hold the ones you save. We stand on your victory, stronger at the cross we sing. Every scar has a story, every trial brings glory. We are more than conquerors through the love of our Lord. Hope lives, hope breathes in the name above all things. Jesus, you have set us free. Now we walk in victory, and we rise by the power of Jesus Christ. Through the pain, through the fire, you are always lifting us higher. No fear, no grave could ever hold the one you see. We stand on your victory, stronger at the cross we sing.
Right. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing here? Let me get rid of this here. What in the world did I do here? Glad to have everybody here this evening. Glad. Believe it or not, I had some technical difficulties. I know, because I'm such a computer expert. Not so much. I had some issues with the background of my video, and so unfortunately, I didn't have time to put up new music this week. So Some of you that watch me probably already heard some of those, some of that music previously, so I just uploaded from the file that I have. Let me start from the beginning. I don't know if Brother Amicus is still here, but welcome aboard. Thanks for being here tonight. I know that guy, so I'm not going to tell you anything about him. I don't know. I believe this is a Brother Stephen. I think that's who has this logo here. Good to see you seeing. And, of course, Brother Jorge. How are you tonight, my friend? I hope weather is treating you very well. I hope that snow melted, guy. Man, I saw that you had that snow up there. I'm glad that's gone. Well, it's got to be gone. Tell me it's gone. We don't have any snow down here. See, this is why I left New England, Brother Jorge. This is why I'm not here. That's why I'm not up there today. So those of you who have never been on this channel, seen this channel, probably more for Brother Amicus, if he's still here or not, and Brother Stephen. We don't do here any debate or anything like that. We don't do that's why we call it Friday Night Fellowship. We're just hanging out. Fellowship can mean different meanings. We talk about different things that might be on our mind, and we just talk about them. Weather was beautiful today. I think that was it for snow. Well, I'm glad. See, I'm glad I don't have to snow blow anything anymore. I'm glad I don't got to shovel nothing no more. I'm glad that, one night it's white and beautiful outside, and then the roads are just black and mush the next day because of all the traffic. So I'm happy to hear that. That is a good thing. That is a good. I'm going to end up heading down to Georgia tomorrow. I have to go early in the morning to Georgia, 3-hour drive down there, and go down to look at a box truck down there. So hopefully that goes well. How are your daughters this week? Obviously you have them. I hope they're doing all right. My wife just asked me the other day, which one she was asking about one of the daughters. I can't remember what she was saying. I think it was, well, couldn't have been anybody else. But I'm glad things are going well. I was going to try and get in touch with Brother Chris, and I forgot to text him earlier. So if he's on here today or tonight, sometimes he pops in late. Sometimes he falls asleep. Us old people can't stay up late. This week was a long, long week for me. I got distracted this week from videos I was trying to get done. I had plans of getting 2 or 3 more Westcott Hort videos up and going, but I did not get to them, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Things happen. Things distract you. Things lead you a different direction. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I think this week I was distracted for a reason that isn't tied out, so I'm thankful for that. They're doing great. Awesome. I'm glad they're doing well. I'm glad. I'm glad. I keep telling you, buddy, you're a good dad. You're a good dad. Keep up the good work. You're doing a great job. I think you're doing a great job. Wife says the same thing. She thinks you're doing a wonderful job. She thinks you're a good dad up there. The only bad thing you're doing as a dad is you're still living in New England and not down here in the South. That's the only bad thing. Other than that, you're all right. I have not got back to, I feel bad. I was gonna message Brother Emmy thing. I think he's over at the other channel tonight. Brother Nick is on this evening, so of course I'm not in competition with Brother Nick, but he happens to be on tonight at the same time as I am. So it is what it is. Always here every Friday, so they'll never miss. I'll catch up on his live stream afterwards. But I have not got back to the other Spanish Bibles. I had the 1602 and the Reina Valera. I was thinking about going online and seeing if I can order a cheaper version of the French Bible eventually. That's the next one I want to do. I don't think I want 24/7 hot, but it's not 24/7 hot down here. I used to think that. I used to think, hey, you know what? I'm going to get down there in the South. I'm going to get down there in a Bible Belt, man. I'm going to run into more solid Bible-believing legit Christians. That is not true. You do run into them, not as much as I was hoping. That stick to the Word of God, not as many as I'd hoped there would be. There's just as many false Christians down here as there are anywhere else. But it is not hot all the time. I thought it would be more hot. I tell you, the first year I got here, they had that whole blizzard of 93, it's been the worst since blizzard of 93. It was not that bad. It was not that bad. I'll tell you, the most interesting thing down here is when I ran into that guy that was reading the Geneva. I thought that was interesting when I was back when I was delivering oxygen tanks. When I was delivering there, and I looked over and I saw the Geneva Bible, and I said to him, "You're reading that?" And he goes, "Yeah." "You got a problem with that?" He didn't say it like that, but I was very interested. I thought the only reason I thought it was cool, obviously, I'm not a Geneva reader or Geneva preferred or whatever. I do have the Geneva, obviously, but I thought it was interesting that he was reading that, and I thought that was pretty neat. That was pretty neat that he was going through that. Obviously, I'm not going to get into all errors and stuff like that. That's not what we talked about all that much tonight. But I thought that was the only thing I thought that was really interesting when I ran into a Christian gentleman down here. That was very unique to me because I had never seen that done. But yeah, it's not hot all the time. It's cold. It's cool in the morning. I will say though, it does warm up pretty quickly. It does warm up pretty quickly. I'm glad, by the way, we're a week removed now from the Easter Bunny signs. I am happy that that's all over with, and we don't have to deal with that nonsense anymore. I was on the Proverbs guys there. Proverbs guys ministry. That's almost a tongue twister like my own channel. And they were talking about that. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, man, it's amazing. As you all know, I don't celebrate that style of Easter. I don't celebrate Christmas. Clarification, I'm not JW, but it is what it is. It's been an interesting week this week. Patience has been tested. I love when it gets tested. I'll tell you that. Apparently, it was 70s today. That I was considering it was just 30s. Oh, it was in the 70s up there today. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Hey, so the fence and the gate's up, so we're gonna end up getting some Bible stuff on the fence. My wife and I were just talking about that. So instead of ordering them, because you can order them all different places or make your own, but since we're gonna be down in the Gulf Shores there, we're gonna head over to Pensacola there and go to the Bible Baptist bookstore there. Last time we had gone there, they actually have a lot of them yard sign size ones, so we're gonna pick up a couple of those. And what I think I'll do is I don't think any like grommets or anything or holes, so I might just drill a couple little holes in them and just zip tie them to the fence. That's probably what I'm gonna do with that. So that'll be fun to put those up. That'll be interesting. But we'll see how things go tonight. Like I said, competing with Brother Nick. Well, I hope to see Brother Calvin, Brother Emmett. I have not heard from Brother Emmett. Usually he sends me a message from him. I hope he's all right. He's doing okay. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. I'll tell you a funny story, Brother Jorge. The other day, I was thinking about how comedians will say things like, "Hey, you're a parent," and when these things happen, I was on the phone with my wife, and she yells out, not in anger, she's yelling out at the kids, and she says, "Hey, stop hitting each other, stop attacking each other with the swords." I'm like, man, you don't hear that much. Or stop hitting your brother with the sword. When you have kids, that's how it works out. So I want to talk a little bit about I didn't really have a topic tonight. Sometimes we have one. There's only a couple people here tonight. I see two people there. But King James onlyism. Don't worry, I'm still a King James onlyism. You know, I feel like there has been, and we know there's been an increasing attack. But even when I'm at work now with, other so-called Christians are relying on the whole concept of words, and that was like a Shakespeare language, and that just sometimes when there's a pushback so heavily on something, you pretty much are on the right track. You are on the right track, and I'm King James onlyism by default, I guess you could say. Brother Jorge, you are as well. It's interesting, and I know how I got here, and you took your path there, and I love the fact that you've been studying the 1602 and the Rene Valera, which I'm looking forward to doing as well. But I don't know what any of that means, but you're nameless to all. I've seen. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm too old to read emoji. I'm probably the last of a dying breed that doesn't use emoji anything. Can't remember. No, once in a while, I used to on my old phone. There were these flowers. I would text my wife a flower every now and then on the phone. That was pretty much the extent of the emoji world I live in. So I'm a last of a dying breed, but it looks like see no evil, hear no evil, and I don't know hands. I can't see what the hands are on that one, but yeah, hear no, speak no, see no, yeah. But you see it more and more, and the whole revival thing we got going on. This is not a true revival, in my opinion. I was from the era where we called them emoticons. I don't think I would have heard that terminology. I come from an era where the cell phones were still about that big. I think my first cell phone was I think it was from the NYNEX company. I think that was the first one. I was transitioning from a pager to or a beeper, depending on how you want to call it, over to the whole cell phone idea. Who knew then how wild it would get now? I mean, I was never into it, the new electronics of that frame. I was a late bloomer to that because I really kind of held off and just kind of pushed it off. And I was the last person to even have Facebook. I miss slamming a phone in anger. Yeah. You can't do that. You can't do that with a cell phone. You can't just go hung up. You can't do it. You can't do it. Well, I mean, gone are the days where you remember the spiral cord and your sister was in the other room, so you couldn't hear what they were talking about. I remember call waiting. Call waiting was a big thing. That was interesting. But yeah, I wish we could go back. We had gotten a landline here. So I thought it was going to be an actual landline. And my wife thought the same because she's not a big fan of cell phones either. And so we got the landline, but the landline is still connected to your internet and to your computer. So you're still not off grid with the phone because it's still plugged in. That's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. I wonder how some of us will survive. I think about that with people, a lot of folks who have online ministries. I wonder, how are you going to survive when the computer goes down? I mean, I know for me, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll keep doing what I've been doing. I'll talk to people more out there. In a way, for a little while, I'll be honest, I think the whole internet idea and making the videos, I think that almost took away a little bit from my interactions out there where we should be more at. And that's why we were originally, and I got brother Jeremy again about it, originally going to set up a place down here at the park in Madisonville. Yikes, I just let kind of near where I live. Somewhere in East Tennessee, we're going to go to a park, and we're going to set up the Bibles. You guys remember the Bibles, all the King James Testaments that I ordered. I got to order some more along with the gospel tracts and really have some interactions. I'm hoping that the interactions don't become altercations, and that's an unfortunate thing. So I that's my opinion. I think more people should be out there. I've always said that. I realize that I am in a minority. Even among King James Bible believers, I am even in a minority. It's kind of funny how that can be. I can be a KJV guy and still be in a minority in the KJV group. I have a question. I'm a 1611. Which is the correct he or she? Sincere question. Are you talking about the whole scandal about the she or the her Bible, the she Bible? I never got into that because I thought it was kind of, in my opinion, a little bit on the silly side. So I never really dived into that. I don't remember what chapter that is in, but I know that supposedly, it's on display at the thing. I think printing errors can be. I think the best explanation I've seen of that, and it's been a while. I think Pinto did a pretty good one on that. Like I said before, I'm not an expert in all these things. I know you made a comment on the Westcott Hort videos that I claim I'm not an expert, and I know you were messing around and kidding, but I'm not. I know in the 1611, as far as I've got it on my translations on that, we got, or the comparisons from then to now, is Luke. We did Matthew, we did Mark. I think we're on Luke. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to check the information. But now let me ask: do you read the 1611 at all? I don't mean that in a negative way. I just wanted, do you read the 1611? Have you heard the whole idea of that we're not actually reading the 1611 Bible? Just so you guys, you're new here, nameless. So I drink from water from a mason jar every time, and so it's not moonshine. Even though I'm in Tennessee, it's not moonshine, I promise. Yeah, I heard there was something with breeches versus apron as well. I'm not sure which one is not. So I had compiled a list and gone through it, and I hate to sound stupid or anything like that, but I'd have to go through one of my file cabinet drawers, but I don't think I have it in. Yeah, it's not in a binder. I think that's in just some files somewhere. But gone through a lot of different words and are they archaic and changes of words. So you'll find things like in the 1611, things like darkness. So darkness would be, see, that's why taking this down and I'm getting the whiteboard back up. I missed the whiteboard. Darkness was spelled with an EN, right? Darkness. And if you count up the errors that are claimed, and I've done that with the 1611, the King James, is looking at the errors, supposed errors that are there, that they're not errors at all. And if you look into spelling of certain words, like if you looked into breeches and look at the etymology, the origin of breeches or apron, sometimes I do believe, and apparently a guy named, still not watched anything from the gentleman. His name is Sam Gipp, and I have not watched a single thing from the man except for some of the. I saw him on panel with James White and D.A. Wade or something like some of these older gentlemen talking about the King James. I'm always fascinated by the attack on the King James, and then the lying within the fact that I don't want to say the word ignorance because that sounds awful and sounds like I'm being negative. I don't mean to come off that way at all, but when the Bible you're reading errors in itself or changes, and you're not willing to acknowledge those, but you're able to attack the King James. I'm a former sports guy, so I figure when you're an underdog, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything. I mean, when the whole world, when the religious world, the secular world, when they're all against King James Bible more than anything, they'll be okay with other Bibles, but not that King James. I mean, I used to think that was some sort of catchphrase. Because remember, I've been accused, oh, well, you've been a King James grew up a Baptist, and that would be the assumption that people would make. But I did not grow up a Baptist. I did not grow up with this Bible. So I came to the King James Bible later on. I'm an NIV. It was only when I realized there was errors or what seemed like errors in the NIV after reading King James. I finally just said, hey, I'm going to read this King James Bible. I'm just reading this thing. I've been wanting to for years, and it's just like, I just never get to it. Been talked out of it. That's another thing. If you're talked out of a Bible, but you're talked into any other Bible, my opinion should be a red flag. I of course, my word for it. I mean, that's probably a famous, quote that's been used by everybody. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. And which it is true. You check that out yourself. And I'm one that doesn't believe anybody. I don't care what Peter Ruckman says or anything else he says. And I don't mean that meanly. I mean, I think he says some good things. But what I'm saying, I'm using his name for the fact that he's the go-to for anything in the King James. If you want to hate people in the King James, Peter Ruckman or the Westboro Baptist Church, and you try to make extreme cases. But at the same time, I'm like, you have to look at the whole picture of things. There are people at King James like Peter Ruckman who could say something right. Sam Gitt can say something right, but they can say a lot of things that you disagree with, and that doesn't bother me at all. But coming to where I came to, and I think we all have how we get there. I don't like listening to others so much on things. I like to learn it myself. I like to discover it myself. It's just who I am. I was always a stubborn kid, so I need to know. And then the people are, oh, you should hear this person. I don't want to hear this person. This is years ago. Hey, you're reading the King James. You know who you should listen to? Don't want to listen to him. You should get the commentary. Don't want the commentary. So, and now today, I don't mind commentaries, and I'll tell you why. Is because I feel, for me, in my opinion, if I had it for the King James and not just read the King James Bible and let the Spirit lead me with the truth, I don't think the truth would have been shown. Maybe it would have. I shouldn't say it wouldn't have. But I don't have any biases going in. I have nobody else telling me certain things. I don't have Peter Ruckman. But I don't have I'm sorry. I get distracted. I saw a comment. I'm convinced and sure you're calling to your field of study. I appreciate that. I think I am. It's what I enjoy. It's just who I am. I like doing it. I feel like that's a tiny little niche in the world. I always say that we all serve a purpose. We all know that in the body of Christ, and there are certain people who bring things to the table, and doesn't mean they're better or worse. In fact, I just had this conversation kind of with my 13-year-old, 11-year-old. We have one in his 30s. We have one in his 20s, and we have, the one is 20. He's going off to July. Brother Calvin's not with us tonight, but his son's already left. Mine goes off in July. But I was explaining to them, we're talking about what they're interested in, and I said to one of my sons, Alex, I said, I think this is what you're going to be good at. I think your brain works in this way, and your brother doesn't know what you know, but you don't know what your brother knows. And I explained to him, I said, that doesn't mean you're better than your brother. It just means you have been blessed with a different gift or a different asset that you bring and that you're good at. And you can be jealous of your brother because he can do certain things that you can't, and he can't be jealous of you. There's no reason to be jealous, because if you work together, you fit the pieces of life, and you guys can conquer anything, especially with God. But you have something that God has blessed you with, and as time goes on, those things will manifest, and you'll be able to be better at what you do. I took a long time to get in here. I was originally, when YouTube was first a thing, I thought I'd be a conspiracy channel guy, because that was my whole world. I would just follow all these things. And you can get lost in conspiracies. And Brother Nameless will know. There's a gentleman, and I don't know if he's watching tonight or will ever watch this. It's okay. I think he gets really deep into conspiracies, and I think what happens when we get too wrapped up in conspiracies, it really can take us the course. And I saw that happen myself. I'm like, I went from finding all the conspiracies to trying to find conspiracies, or trying to make conspiracies out of things. Therefore, you don't really have a conspiracy. You're just looking for that conspiracy. Yeah, I was one to follow the breadcrumb trails. So taking that thought process, or that approach, that's what I took with the Bible, with the different versions. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to just look at it from a point of view. It's like, well, I'm a King James guy, and I guarantee you all these other ones are wrong, and this is how I will prove it. No, I want to see behind all things. I like the origins. I like to find the breadcrumb trails where they lead back to. That's why I'm not a modern Bible guy, not because of some commentator, not some of my pastor or my preacher or anything like that. It's just evidence and research and looking at it. When I was done reading the King James Bible, I was completely convinced, and I had complete faith that was the best Bible there was. I absolutely convinced. And it wasn't the poetry. It wasn't the romanticism of the language. There were things that were open-ended, or there were things that were vague. There were things that didn't make sense, in the modern Bibles. And when you read the same ones and you read it in the King James, for me, when I read it, I was like, oh, now that makes sense. And then there's suspicious stuff. Like, I wonder why that's not there. I wonder why that's not there. And is that not in another Bible? So, Brother Nameless, I'll go over this real quick with you, because you're definitely new to the channel. And again, I appreciate you stopping by. And I'm not a debate channel. I don't do Q's usually. I don't mean that like you can't ask questions. I don't get into all that kind of stuff. That's just not my thing. That's not what I don't mind having conversations. I find, and I've said this before, I find debates very dangerous, because the etymology and the origin of the word debate is to beat down, to win. So let that be. In fact, debate out of all the modern Bibles, if you look at that, debate is in the King James Bible as being a bad thing, and then that same verse, debate, is missing from that verse, from all the other. I might have covered it in one of my Westcott Horts. I'm not sure. You think I would have, though. I'm pretty sure I probably did. But it's all that. And I've seen people with all honesty, they with all goodwill, begin a debate or a civil conversation, what seems to be a civil discourse, but it always breaks into this debate, and it breaks into some anger and some bitterness and name calling, and this person calling this person mad and mean and angry and bitter and all these other things. That is not how we should be behaving as born-again Christians. That's just not how we should be. We should be exhorting one another, helping one another. And yes, if there is a problem or an issue, we go to that brother, and then whoever the sisters are that are watching, same thing with the sisters. They're supposed to go to, hey, a discussion about these things. Then you bring it. But unfortunately, a lot of people just go with anger, or they get to the gossiping, or talking behind people's back, or calling people. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. That's not, find me where the Bible says, in the King James Bible, where it says we can do that. We're not backbiters, we're not gossipers. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to lift one another, not destroy or put each other down. And I'm talking about brothers and sisters. We have a different approach we take with the world because it's a different conversation, a different dialogue. That means we should be mean or angry. It's just the approach is much different because we're not approaching a brother and sister. I know that some will say that, well, everybody's a brother and sister in this world. That's not true. I mean, if you're talking about we all came from one place physically, that's a different conversation. I'm talking about, you have the world and you have born again Christians. My family I have two families, right? I have the earthly, fleshly family, my brothers and sisters and things of that nature. And then there's the brothers I have and sisters in Christ, brothers in Christ. That's a different family. That's the family I'll be going to everlasting with. That's where I'm going with that. My other family, I may not. I pray that I do, and they make it. You know what I mean? When I say they make it, I mean, they did enough works to get there. I mean, they're born again. They're saved. They're going to be there one day, and that's a wonderful thing. But we should be about it. I know it's not a popular thing to say that we shouldn't. No, we should definitely attack and expose, and or we should rebuke. Not saying we shouldn't rebuke. I've never said that. Never in a million years. But I think there are people who enjoy rebuking. I don't enjoy rebuking anyone. I've rebuked a few people over my lifetime. It's not an enjoyable thing. I think some people almost are giddy to do so, or it makes them feel better about themselves, that they can point out a flaw in somebody. If we did that, we'd be at each other's throat all the time. We all have flaws. I cut my hair today and I didn't do a good job. There's a flaw. But we gotta get away from all of that. I think. Where did this start from? See, this is what happens. I go down this whole thing, and I don't usually have people on nameless. I've been thinking it being a good idea down the road. I've talked about a few times of just having conversations and letting people talk and express themselves, fellow brothers in Christ. But I also know that I have to be very careful because there may be some that consider themselves or say they are Christians that are not. They are Christians by intellect and mouth only, but not by their living. And people say, you should live like a Christian, but those same people say it's not about works. Well, again, that's kind of a work, but it's not a work. See, people want to break down everything. I mean, we are to worship the Lord. We are to live our lives in a way that people go, they are different, because we are supposed to be a peculiar people, are we not? Well, we are not. We are supposed to be different. If I can't differentiate you between the world, that to me is a question mark. Who are you to judge? Well, the Bible tells us to judge righteously. So, yeah. I think it started on King James onlyism, I think. But yeah, so I have been accused of how I got to be King James only, and they're always wrong. It's not how I got to be a King James onlyist. And which I'm glad. I am glad that I took the route I did. I'm glad I never heard of Peter Ruckman before I became King James only. I don't mean I'm against Peter Ruckman. I'm saying I'm glad I never heard him, because I got to where I am. So I have no skin in the game, as I say. I had no mentors that I leaned towards or anything like that. None of that affected my decision making. It was just reading the Bible. That's what affected my decision in what Bible I read. Some people say, I got here by reading all the modern Bibles, and that's how I'm a King James. Yeah, no, if you were reading all the modern Bibles before the King James on purpose, I think you are also a commentator reader, and you're also and not to say it's a horrible thing. Some people need it, but there are some people who file things. And then you find out they were always a King James person from their birth, and that's okay too. If you were that way, great. Sure, you're running a step, but I would be careful of what church buildings you're in that are toting the King James Bible, because there are some that hold the King James Bible. They hold this Bible, and they go, "Oh yeah, this is the Word of God. I live by the Word of God," and yet you see them not being sinners, but willful sinners, premeditated sinners. And I think that's a problem. They're involved in every sin under the sun. I'm like, well, I'm not sure that's a good thing. And that's why I say, if we base it on certain people that may be or may sound like extremists, Peter Ruckman has been put out there as the extremist. He seems to be the creme de la creme of who we can use to somehow disparage King James Bible believers and sola scriptura folks. And I'm thinking, I think you're wrong. I'm sure the band has skeletons in the closet, but I'm thinking there are other people who got bodies of skeletons in their closet. And they're probably got triple locked and padlocked and titanium doors on them. So I'm always wary and leery of people who are more interested in exposing others or attacking others when not needed, and just not talking about how we should be as born again Christians. That I find is a difficult thing to discuss. I do wish Brother Amicus was here as well, but I just think we need to reevaluate how we're running shows. I wasn't even talking about the YouTube channel, just our life and what we're doing. I don't know why I said shows, but that is a good point too. That's another thing. There's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of YouTube channels. There's a lot of Rumble channels. I have a little bit. Post as much as I shoot on there because it takes so long to do all that. I work every day. I don't have any donor pages or anything like that. That's not being negative. That's not. I like working, and I've always said to work is hard, so I will continue to do so as long as I can. But we got a lot of people who are more interested in their program, how they run a program, how they're producing it, how many videos they can put up, what kind of CGI or AI they can get into it, and how these beautiful long documentaries and all the background. I guess that's okay, but I think, okay, that's kind of the same way the world looks at things. Instead of just having a simple conversation or a simple back and forth, or simple discussion, just simple fellowship, and it's lacking. It is sorely lacking. I'm not seeing it. Every time I think I see it, it's not what I'm hoping to see. It is consistently just people attacking one another. Well, I disagree with you, and I'm cutting you off, and I just we're not even supposed to be partakers with the unfruitful anyways of the world. We're not supposed to be hanging out with the worldly individuals, especially if we're calling ourselves a fellowship of some kind. We're not supposed to be doing that. We're just not. You can't. I was trying to look something up, but I'm not finding to look up. But that happens. What are you gonna do? That becomes where we are definitely missing the whole aspect of fellowship in a proper sense, in a proper way. That's you guys have anything to add? It's only a couple of us here tonight. We got a slow night this evening. That's okay. I'll be here until I'm not here. That's how I kind of look at things. I'll be here for a while, but we have to, as born again Christians, we've got to start standing together. There's so much. I'm not even sure why there's such a vast divide. I think even Christians can get wrapped up in listening to the world and listening to what they've got going up there, and I just, yeah, we've let the world affect and infect us in many ways, and I'm one who, again, I'm a different cat. I know that I am. I know I'm a minority. I seem to come in the crosshair sometimes. I have the mainstream King James Baptist folks that don't really care for my attitude and my approach. I've got hardcore, supposedly off the grid living, stylish King James people who don't appreciate me. They don't like me. And that's not a sob story, but I'm just saying it's being an outcast among outcasts is a kind of an interesting place to be, and I like being there. You're doing something right at that point, but I think we have fewer born again Christians in the King James realm than I think people like to admit now, more than before. I think it's the best way to try to make people look like fools is to infiltrate an area and try to create some sort of strife. I think I also look at people the way they live. And when someone says, "Hey, I'm a Bible believing Christian, I'm sola scriptura," and then you see what their lives go. I'm gonna hold on. I had to sneeze. I hope nobody heard me sneeze. I hope I muted that just in time. Well, we have a lot of folks who say they are Christians, and then you see them more involved with worldly things than the Bible, than Scripture, and being. I know I'm stumbling a little bit over my words. I'm not a highly intellectual gentleman. But we have too many. Oh, I just did this on accident. Sorry. So somebody's going to assume that's Freemason. So I'm watching a guy. Brother Jorge might remember this guy. So he made a video on another guy accusing him of being a Freemason. Now, the guy he was referencing is someone I knew who don't fellowship with anymore. We parted ways. There was some issues there. Now, this gentleman had gossip and talked about me and stuff like that, which is no big deal. That didn't bother me. But even I found myself defending him in the sense of you can't assume that just because he sat in a chair with his hands in a certain way, just like, just random like that. I've seen people do this who are not Freemasons, and assume that person's a Freemason. He probably got it from watching Donald being a MAGA guy and the way he held his hands or something. It's that we have to be careful. Symbols are real. Hand gestures are real. All these things are real. But are you going to tell me if your 8-year-old just happens to hold his hand in a certain way, he's suddenly a Freemason or he's evil. And no, be careful of that kind of stuff. There is a chance you can read into something way too deep. But easily hopped on board and said, "Oh yeah, I'm with you." Because I don't like that guy, and I had a problem and a falling out with that guy, and we had issues, and I didn't like the way he talked about me behind my back. Yeah, you're right. He's a Freemason. No, I don't get into that nonsense. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, I've been on different channels. I'm very rarely on anybody else's channels, live streams. I think I've been on maybe three in total. I don't know if Brother Jorge's watching at the moment, but he could back me up, or he could tell me how many I've been on. I think only 3 I've gone on. I'm very careful normally, or there's a reason why I go on. 2, I would never go on in a million years and don't know what's there, but I knew God had put me there for a reason. There's another one that I do go on when I have the opportunity there. He's that would be Brother Nick, and I'm not always on there, but he's in Australia, so I don't really. I'm always watching his stuff after the fact. Oh, he's on tonight. That's okay. But we have to be very discerning of who we're being yoked with. I'm one who doesn't like to join the crowd for a while. I'm pretty. It takes a long time before I make that move, because we got to be careful. Someone might look good, but or talk and say something right, and you're like, oh yeah, just be careful, be slow, about it, meditate on the word, and see where we're going with the things. Just let the Lord lead you. That's how I do things, and so it takes me a while to commit to certain things, and I'm like, nope. And I'm also one that would I'll walk out in the middle of a service. That's the type of guy I am. If something ain't sitting right, and my gut is telling me, yeah, nope. Sometimes I'll sit it through. I'll go to churches and sit it through and realize, oh yeah, I'm not coming back here ever again. I remember we went to a Wesleyan church. I had never been to a Wesleyan church. I wasn't involved. I'm not a church member anywhere. I don't believe in church building memberships. It's not my thing. But so we went to this Wesleyan church, and it had to be the deadest church building that I had ever been in. I mean, just the air was dead. It was just dead. It was just dead. You felt nothing. When you walk into somewhere, usually you would you feel a little something. Yeah. After a while, you might feel like, this place is crazy, or I'm like, well, it's really cool. This place is wild. You know what I mean? It was just dead. And you know what the topic was? And I remember telling my wife, and I was laughing about it. It was about tithing. We're not tithing up. We need to give more money. We need to give more money. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. There's a red flag if I've ever seen one. But yeah, we never went back. It's funny because those Wesleyans, they're almost like they're borderline. This particular Wesleyan church, Earth Crunchies. If you know Earth Crunchies, are kind of the modern New Age version of hippies. So it's like the 21st century of hippies is the Earth Crunchies, and that's what was in that church. I remember that being there. Hey, we walked out of a church one time, and you have to, here's the thing: don't be scared to walk out. Who cares who walk out of somewhere? If it ain't right, and you feel evil in the air, and you feel something negative, you got to roll. You got to get going. You got to move right out that door. No, you're not staying. But a lot of us will stay, and will compromise on a lot of different things. Be careful what you compromise on. Something simple, maybe, whatever. Well, it doesn't have a nice parking lot. That's not going to be the game changer. You know what I mean? Silly analogy, but there are silly things that people use, and then they ignore major issues. And they're like, oh no, we're gonna stay. So they don't believe Jesus is God. Yeah, but they got a nice parking lot. They're really nice people. They're really nice. They're really nice to me. Yeah, no, that doesn't. That's not how that works. Um, but we left out of that one. I remember that was they were gonna do. They were talking about Halloween, and they were talking about, hey, they're gonna have a little party at the church. Make sure you. And I'm like, okay, they try to do the whole keep the kids off the street at Halloween, and then they said make sure you wear your costumes and stuff. I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm like, yeah, that was a red flag. We got up in the middle and walked out. I looked at my wife; she knew where we were going. I didn't have to tell her. She knew and felt the same way I did. It was time to roll, and so we took off. Uh, that's how it goes. We had a ministry split with a group 1 year ago over several things, but they're all King James only. That's why we're not. You may enjoy their Christian content. It's called Making Hell Service. So I've seen different King James onlyists channels or sites, and just because, and that's I like how this comes up too. Just because someone calls themselves a King James onlyist, I think there are some sheep's wolves sheep's and wolves clothing. There's some wolves out there, my friend. There's some wolves. You think they're King James onlyist, and you think they're running by that book, but they ain't. I've known some. I'm not going to get into some people that I've known, but you find out behind the scenes, like, okay, that is a completely different persona than I see on the video screen. So I don't like everybody's content, and I like a lot of people's content. I don't know, unless God puts it in my place for a reason, good or bad. Then I'll watch it and I'll get involved with it. I know that I just found your channel, and so obviously God put your channel in my path for a reason. What it will be, I don't know. I'm there for a little bit and see how things roll and see why God has me there. When I say why, I don't mean that in a negative way, like, I don't know why I'm here. These people are stupid. That's not what I'm talking about. It just means that God puts you in certain places. I came across a channel that I don't even watch anymore. I shouldn't say I never watch it. I catch it once in a while, but I found somebody else on that channel, and that person I watch today. I don't know if that G's, that is LOL. I don't know what that means. G's. Yeah, and not to say I won't. I'm seeing I will. I've never not looked something up that someone. I think it's rude of me not to look at something, and I may or may not like it, but I think it's kind of rude if someone has been gracious enough to share something. I'm obviously going to look into it or look at it. It's only right. But again, just because everybody's a King James, everybody says they're King James onlyist. I've run into too many people, or seen or heard, been involved with that. I had a split with somebody who's a King James onlyist, and yet their behavior, the way they approach things, the way they was not King James. It was not a very biblical manner. So therefore, we parted ways. And it is what it is. And I have, for me, I don't have any ill will towards them. I've never talked negatively. I've never attacked them and gossiped behind their back or anything like that. That's never been my thing. Yes, I heard through channels that they talked about me. I think the only time I got angry with this person and did make a video is because they talked about my wife. And once you talk about my wife, it's a different conversation. And I'll tell you why. Some wives, you can talk about them, and some you can't. And to me, this is how I look at it. If you put your wife out there, then you put her out there for ridicule, attack, or whatever it may be. You put her there. That's what it is. I'm not saying it's right, but you made them a target in a way. Depending on what they have. If you're talking about relationships or something like that, or marriage or things. I understand that. My wife has never been in any single one of my videos, not because I don't love my wife. I love her very much. Those who followed me a long time know that I speak very highly of my wife. An incredible, a very intelligent woman, very, very intelligent. Um, she could have been a lot of things in her world. She could have been the top accountant. She has an accountant, a degree in accounting. She has masters and bachelors. Before I met her, she was major into being a nurse. She ran the psychiatric floor at one point up north, and all these things. But imagine such an amazingly smart woman, and she throws that away to what? Follow what the Bible says. And she's with me, this genius over here. She decided to marry this numbskull, this guy who likes to cause trouble apparently, and do what the Bible tells her to do as a wife. I think that type of woman is a whole lot stronger than the woman who says, I'm trying the corporate ladder, and I've had to, with all these men, I've got to be a CEO of a large company. Who cares? Who cares? Does it glorify God? No. So I think that's the strongest woman, to be able to actually follow the word of God and to be behind her man. I don't want, not the Tammy Wynette, like stand by you, man. I don't mean it like that, but in an essence, I mean, some of the country songs back then did kind of take away from the Bible or their upbringing in the Southern Baptist Convention Baptist churches, the old SBC. Of course, the old SBC, it wasn't great either, but the new SBC ain't great either. But so therefore, that's why I had an issue. You go after my wife, who I don't put on YouTube. She doesn't have this whole YouTube channel following. She doesn't do any of that. She's an amazing wife, an amazing mother, an amazing caretaker for my father who lives with us because he has early dementia. So we brought him with us from up north. So yeah, I'm like, that to me, that's those type of women, I think, end up being stronger, and to be that selfless and do what the Bible says to do. You don't find that in women today. Very rare is that a thing. Very rare, but very, very, very rare. How'd I just go down that path? We talk about all King James people. So that's why I'm even very weary very leery of King James channels themselves. I think there is a misnomer or a fallacy that all the King James, anyone who calls them King James only, they're all sticking together. No. I know that the James White folks out there want to call them some sort of cult, and while a cult has to actually stay together and be, no, it's not how. For people I associate that are Bible believing Christians, Sola Scriptura and King James folks, yeah, they don't. They're not going to stick around with some wackies that are King, even though just because they say they're King James only, we're going to stick around. That don't make any sense. It's like you saying, yeah, I'm a Roman Catholic. I'll continue going to my church though. Didn't your priest just kill 3 people? Yep. But we got to stick together. I'm not calling that out. We got to stick together. No, that's not. No. Well, that's a cult. If you want to get into cults. But I also say that I have found King James people more often than not, hardcore ones, will not partake in the world at least. It's probably why I would call the JW, because I don't partake in all the pagan holidays. Now there's I know there's an argument about what is what, Easter and Christmas and all these other holidays. I get it. Been down this road 1,000 times. I got like binders over there on Christmas and stuff like that. But just stuff that I look at. And I use with um, letting the Spirit lead me, and just some of it's just common sense, just research, you know. But I think sometimes there are things that are holidays are emotional. Holidays are emotional. They play on your emotional sense. So I know King James onlyists who celebrate Christmas. I don't. So I mean, King James onlyists are. If you celebrate Christmas, well, there you go. You got something in common with King James onlyists. Well, I'm like, but I think people are saying, "Oh, that we're just against King James onlyists because we think they're wrong in their translation of how they follow it." That's what we think, and that's okay. You can believe that. I've got no problem with anybody believing what they want to do. You get the free will to believe what you want. But do it, and I look at it. I just look at evidence, and I think of things of that nature. I wish more Christians would be. And while I was on that channel the other day, there was a little talk about evolution. I wish more Christians would be more discerning about the evolution of their Bibles as they are about evolution from Darwin. I got to stop using the word wish. Brother Daniel, if you're watching, my bad. I still got to break that habit. There are some of those words that we got to eliminate from our language because of the origins of what they do mean. I think it matters. I think the words do matter in the origins of it. There are words that mean something that change, yes, are still the same. I bet you can figure out a definition. And I think somebody was telling me, or I was watching Brother Nick's channel. He was mentioning how Sam Gipp is all about the definition. You don't need a dictionary. Now, I've never heard Sam Gipp say this because I don't know much about Sam Gipp because I don't follow him, nor do I have a book by him. I'm going to have to buy one just to have it in the collection. But he said the definition is always in the Bible, the verse, and to an extent, by the way, that is actually true. And to put that theory into practice, because I always think you should do something to see if it actually is true or works before you tell somebody it does. Just because somebody told you something doesn't necessarily mean that's true. That means somebody told them who told them who told them. It's kind of like when you get with the modern version Bibles. Well, that scholar meant that scholar who told that scholar who told that scholar. And I'm like, so you've never done the research at all or dug into it? Well, no, I didn't need to. Somebody already did it for me. Not saying that they're always be careful about really going into that. So therefore, evolution of Bibles matters as well. Hello, Brother Amicus. Good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. And I see my name, Stephen, with a PH. I will say this: I might disagree with Proverbs Guys Ministry, Brother Stephen there. At least he's got the right spelling of his name, so I'm going to give him that. No matter what else, if we ever disagree on anything, I'm giving him that. I'm just making a joke there. But yeah, I mean, if we did follow, it would be fascinating to see as intense evolution study of the biblical origins of your particular modern Bible as we go after Darwinism or Lamarck, or Lamarck would be the guy that was before Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution, or George Lamarté of the Big Bang Theory, and even before him and things of that nature. But I find that we're more interested in worldly things than we are in biblical matters. And I would have spent all the years I did involved with all those things, conspiracies and all that stuff, all those years. Again, like I said, when YouTube began, that's where I was. I was a conspiracy guy. It wasn't much I didn't know. I mean, my dad never taught me how to ride a bike, never taught me how to play baseball or basketball or anything of that nature. My brother taught me basketball, and then I went on to play and also be a coach for 20 years, which I would never do that again either. But he had taught me about the CRF, the Trilateral Committee. I knew about Arab Spring before Arab Spring even became a thing. They talked about that back in the early 80s. Certain people did, underground folks, So I was really into that theory. I always make the comment like, how many people know that Clinton, Hillary's brothers, I think it was her brothers, were in the walnut trade business with Russia? Not many people are going to know that, but I follow the breadcrumbs, and that's what I did with Modern Bibles. I'm not trying to talk about Modern Bibles. I don't know why we're in Modern Bibles, but that's what I do is I follow breadcrumbs. I don't listen to just what Peter Ruckman says or Sam Gipp or D.A. Wade or I'm trying to think of all the names you can come down with, or even on the other side with Modern Bible guys. Dan Wallace, James White, and the newer the new breed there, the Mark Ward, the Wes Huffs, and things of that nature. I find the Bible, I look at that Bible, and I say, what are the origins? Like this is the 1881, right? This is the 1881 New Testament, the Greek New Testament. Let's get page 1 here. The version set forth, this is the 1881. I don't know if y'all can, the book is kind of ruined, but I don't know if you can. I don't have the most high-tech 10K camera here, but anyways, that's 1881. And I look at the Bible. I find the Bible like the NET, and I find, okay, where did it come from? Who's behind it? What's the point of it? You know what I mean? These things are important to me. It's not so much what King James onlyist guys say or the modern version onlyist guys say. I'm like, I look at the evidence in front of me and I follow it. Now, like I said, after I read the King James, when I read the King James the first time, and it wasn't poetry, it was completion of sentence. It was the absence of vagaries that are involved in others. And for years, being told, don't read the King James Bible. It's kind of like when you tell a kid, don't go into, what is the first thing that kid wants to do? Go in that room. You probably shouldn't tell people not to do something. And I guess that works for some King James guys, and that's how they got there. But that's how I got there. And you read it, and you think to yourself, wow, this makes sense. And then when you compare everything else, now, like I said before, I think I was talking to Brother Amicus on the behind the stage or thingamajig, what you call over there. Over on Proverbs channel. Luke 4:4. People who know me know this. Luke 4:4. I remember that didn't read the same as NIV. I'm like, So I go check my mother's NIV. Somehow I inherited my mother's NIV. I don't know how. She has the 2011 is the one she had. But I also have the 1984 and the original 1976 New Testament as well. And I read it, I'm like, wait a second. So I looked it in the NIV and I looked at it again. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't read the same. And then I said to myself, how many times has this been changed? Do others read this way or do they match? And there went my long journey of buying every single version, get my hands on. I even got the Spanish versions over here and trying to figure it out. And what do they all have in common? 99% of the time, they always or leave out the same thing. And that's a simplistic way of saying it. A little more to it, but it's the same. So this 1935, I think it's 1935. This is the Greek New Testament right here. I can't read Greek. It's all Greek to me, as I say. This is the 16th edition. This is the 16th edition of the Eberhard Nessels here. Or Nessels, I should say. Eberhard Nessels, but not Nessel alone. So this is newly revised by Dr. Erwin Nessels. Now I'm looking for something else. I was looking for the year, but I can't find the year. What I broke it down to figure it out, 16th edition came out around in the 1930s, as far as I know. This was actually given to a corporal in 1944. So it's got some writing on it, which is kind of neat in itself, the 10th 10th Mountain Division, 1944. So, which was, that's a pretty neat thing. But, and I almost got the, I think it was the 28th edition was bought, and I didn't buy it. I ended up buying a book by Westcott. I had found Lightfoot, I think it was. But anyway, I bought a different book, and I wish I bought the other one. But how this hasn't changed from here to the 28th? Why do we keep putting it out? People keep saying, "Oh, came out another one," and I'm like, "All right, yeah, oh, they changed." So one of the words, and they don't read this, but they say, "Oh, it changed." What changed? Newly revised? They found new stuff. Then why does it still read the same? Think about it this way: 1881 to now, it's 140 years. Doing the math right, 140 plus years, and yet your ESV still matches. Still matches your Westcott. It's got to be a red flag, as well as others. I mean, I got the NAB, the NASB, the Good News. Now, when I say I have every Bible, I don't have every Bible. I have the English Bible, the New English Bible, the the Living Translation, the NLB. I got numerous Catholic Bibles, and that's another thing which you'll find interesting is the fact that Catholic Bibles, the modern Catholic Bibles today, also match Westcott and Hort more than they match the Douay Rheims. Like in Hebrews chapter 7, verse 21, that will be the next, by the way, Westcott Hort video that comes out. So spoiler on that. Other people haven't seen it, so I'll put it out eventually. Melchizedek is missing out of 721. And the humorous thing about that, it is also missing out of the Knox Bible as well. Now, the Knox Bible to me is interesting because it's a Catholic Bible, legit, but Knox came after 1881. That's the 1950s. So that is after the fact. But it matches. Why? To me, I'm thinking if my Bible matches the Bible, we got a problem here, right? To me, that's a problem. To me, it's a red flag. Oh, I'm anti-Catholic. Well, I'm sorry, anti-Roman Catholic, Vatican, blah, 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 all that. And I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But can I ask you a question, though? If you're anti-Roman Catholic, shouldn't you be anti anything that comes off the tree of the Catholics? Brother Amicus, I don't know if you want to come on and talk a little bit, because I think you have some pretty good knowledge on that. Hey, if you're watching, if you want to drop that little link thing in there. And again, this is not about having debates or anything like that. I'm not that type of channel. That's not what I do here. I'm not bringing in the atheist and the JWs and the Buddhists and all this other stuff to have some great from my believers. And I think Brother Amicus has a lot to offer. And Brother Nameless, you may as well. I don't know your completely your point of view, but I do believe Brother Amicus is a King James oriented gentleman. But I think it's worth the conversation of having about these things, just for the fact that we're talking about red flag. ESV, and we'll use that one. I'm not going to use a legacy style. LSB is also corrupt in itself, obviously. But I use ESV because now Baptist churches I've seen and heard have moved to the ESV, which is fascinating to me. I think that's rather fascinating. They've moved into that spot by the fact that they've been convinced. It's kind of like when the new King James came into play in the late 70s, early 80s, trying to push that to the King James crowd, and that didn't work out as well as they had hoped in the beginning. Some did jump. I know that from my understanding, when I was a child, a baby, even the Pentecostal church that I was in as a child, they were using the King James Bible. But then became moved into the NIV, which I think is funny because they skipped the NKJV altogether. They just went boom right to NIV. They just made a jump in my church. Which was the Assembly of Gods. That's where I growing up in is in their unfortunate organization. That's where I came from. That's came from my mom, and God. But yeah, so you look at that strain of things. It's interesting. So when we attack King James Onlyist, the humorous thing, I guess I don't know if it's humorous, but the Pentecostal church that I grew up in was King James Onlyist. Many people were King James Onlyist before 1881, right? And there was still King James Onlyist when the ASV came out. There's still King James Onlyist when the Darby version came out. Still, when the Amplified Bible came out. This whole concept of King James Onlyist thing, an onlyism, is a modern thing, a modern attack, a modern terminology or a stigma put on some. Again, it's kind of like if you don't celebrate Christmas, you're a JW. That's a modern thing. So apparently, everybody who before 1868 who didn't celebrate Christmas, they weren't JWs. But now after that fact, they're JWs. See the brainwashing, the indoctrination of terminology, flip-flopping of words and just moving things around, moving pieces, kind of like modern Bibles, keep moving around. So again, before 1868, Christmas. Then all of a sudden after 1868, Christmas, yes. I don't even think Jorge's here anymore. I think he's dealing with the kids. He's got his young ladies. So I'm gonna figure out how to put in the drop link if one of y'all want to talk a little bit. I'm not an expert when it comes to these things of dropping in the link. There must be a way to do it. I wish I was better at it. I'm not a big enough channel to have 19,000 moderators, but Brother Jorge is a moderator. That's why I was asking him. Brother Amicus, do you have anything to add to this at all? Or Brother Nameless? I don't even know who's watching, to be honest with you. There's only a few of us here tonight. We're missing a couple people tonight, though. We are missing a couple who would bring a lot to this. Brother Emmett is awesome. Brother Calvin, awesome when it comes to they are good. But we are missing a few guys tonight. This is when I get emotional and sad. Brother Chris is not with us tonight. I hope things are going well with his mom. I meant to text him that today to see how things are going with mom, but I didn't. I forgot. I feel kind of bad about that. What are you gonna do? So, modern Bibles, yeah, not so much. So what I was going to say, and I think I'll say it again if anybody's listening, other than myself, the ESV could not buy the rights to certain things, right? They couldn't buy the rights to a non-copyright item. So they had to buy the rights to the RSV. So by buying the copyright and getting permission and all that good stuff with the RSV, they now have the access and the rights to the ASV. And as you all know, the ASV is the Westcott Hort version right after that. So you have that Westcott version 1881, the ASV in 1901 comes out at that point, and the RSV in 1945. It's 1945. If I'm wrong, or 51 or something like that. So you got that comes in. So all right, so then you have to figure out 1951. So that way, the ESV, by buying or getting permission for the rights for the RSV, essentially is getting the ASV, which is getting the Westcott Hort and taking that. Now, a certain percentage of that has to change in general for it to be a different Bible, right? A different version, right? That's why it's they said, oh, let's just call it the English Standard Version. Well, really, the American Standard Version would have been English Standard Version, correct? Revised Standard Version. Okay, that was the revised. Standard. So that's the revised version of the American Standard Version. So American version and English version are really just the same thing. And then they play off the Westcott Hort and bring the Westcott Hort into play at that point. Over 95, 97, 98%. Pretty matches pretty well. And that's the other thing. When you have the Nestles, when you have a 13th edition, you have a 25th edition, and you have different readings, how does that work? And then if you open up, I asked one person to read something for me, and they said this is what it says, and it changes. But the words didn't change. So if you do the history, it'll tell you very little has changed. Then why all the changes? Now the phrasing changes. That's people doing what that's man just making the changes they want. Phrasing changes, certain words change, structure of a sentence, the grammatical syntax changes, but there are certain things that remain the same. It would be whatever was added or whatever was taken away, and that is more often than not the continuous strain, the it's where I'm looking for. Not lineage. I'm lacking the right word. I'm not a genius, but they share that in common. It's a common thread. There you go. It's a common thread that goes through the whole thing. It is what they omit or what they add. And again, that should be another. Why is that? Now you can say, well, the King James added that word. Fair enough. You can say that all you want, but they add that word for hundreds of years before 1611, hundreds upon hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden you have to change. So would you not be, are you more guilty or are you as guilty? Because you're the same, all the rest read. So if I'm going to say, I think Brother Jorge once gave a better analogy than I did a long time ago. It was a very poor job. I did a video on it. It was awful. I didn't say it proper at all. And now I'm going to mess it up what he said, but I'm going to paraphrase. The dog is up there. The dog is up where? Nobody knows where the dog is. Up where? Up the street, up the hill, up the road, up a tree? And then you have the King James. The dog is up there on the roof. Oh, he's on the roof. Well, that makes sense. I get it. Now, this is going to be another. Somebody's go, that's the worst analogy I've ever heard. Well, that's the one I'm working with at the moment. But that's what I mean. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. When you read it doesn't make sense. I don't understand. It was, well, this was already said in another chapter. Okay, but if that person happened to be reading that chapter. Oh, and I was going to say earlier, putting into practice the words of archaic words. Smoked was the word. I think that's probably the best word I could have used. So I asked my son, Alex, he's 13 now. I think he was 10 or 11, roughly 10 or 11 when I asked him. I said, what does smoke mean? I don't know, Dad. Then I read a sentence, and then he says, to cut somebody's ear, to hit someone's ear, chop an ear, off an ear, and basically different terminology. So basically, cut the ear off. I'm like, yes. So in a way, this person, Sam Gipp, is right in the fact that words can often give their own definition by the way they're used in a sentence. And I understand there was a controversy with the whole let from Frank Turek, but I'm not talking about that. So more or less that happened. So the other thing I had done too is after going through the changes in the supposed changes, old OLDE to OLD, darkness from darkness, because DARKENESS. I think it's ESSE, I think it's spelled, and that's not how we spell it now, but it's still darkness, right? You can read it. This is darkness. Spelled differently. But here's the thing. Many of the errors, in my opinion, and when I look at them, were not errors in that time frame. That is the way it was spelled. Listen, even the word Isis, oh, they made a mistake. Iames, oh, they messed up. Or you can actually look at the alphabet as it was still functioning in English, and the fact that it wasn't until the late 1600s actually. Out of Italy, the word, the letter I and J, and J was then introduced, and used more common from Italy, and then it moved up into England. Look at those things, you realize no. So, oh, King James, it changed. No, it just now that letter is in the alphabet. The word didn't change. A spelling of something and the complete change of something is completely different. Knife and knife. If you saw N-I-F-E, I bet you anyone would pronounce it knife. Oh, that's not how you spell it. It's K-N-I-F-E. But what did he say? Did he say the same word? Yeah, but okay. But he said the same word. So people get hung up on sometimes. Maybe, again, knife might not be the best analogy either, but it matters of the time frame. Something. How was it spelled then? Oh, the King James completely changed all of Tyndale. It's not the same. They spell it differently. Okay, spelling is different. They didn't change the spelling. Spelling changed. We're talking about word changes. If you spell blue, B-L-U, B-L-U, and B-L-U-E, we got a spelling change. If you went B-L-U or B-L-U-E to R-E-D, yeah, that's a change. It's a different color. It's completely different. So I think, and when you break that down at the end of the day, when you take out spelling changes, when spelling's really not changed, if you look at capitalization and things of that nature, you really narrow it down to a very tiny percentage difference in the 1611. Well, not just read the 1611 because, like I said, with the darkness and old, I like the old stage, and then better men than me will explain the whole these and thous to you. They'll go through that one with you. They do, and there are guys who know better than I do on that one. I know where to stay in my lane. I'm not a linguistic expert. I don't go that far. I can touch upon grammatical syntax a little bit. Linguistic is not my thing. Certain languages I can take a look at and see some differences in the way in the style it's written. But yeah, I will always stay away from modern Bible. I will not recommend a modern Bible to anyone at all because what if that's the only Bible you have? Or here's one of my favorite ones. I think probably the same people who get on you for not celebrating Christmas will get on you about the same certain things. But are you saying you can only be saved by the King James Bible? First of all, you're not saved by a Bible. You're saved by the Lord. Jesus Christ who shed his blood on the cross. Unless you take the word blood out of it, like a lot of our Bibles. So we have to be very good. But my preacher taught it. Well, so did the King James. That's another thing. I learned it. My preacher told me what it meant. Okay, but if you have the King James, it already says it right there. You didn't even need a preacher to tell you what it meant. Now you're kind of like the Catholic Church, are you not? Well, I need a priest to tell me. I need a preacher to tell me. So God's not good enough. The Holy Spirit's not good enough. Now there are some things. It takes some studying and putting together and learning, and it's okay to get other people's help things. I'm just saying, sometimes the mentality of modern day Protestants is much like the mentality of the Catholic Church. I'm just saying. I am not a Protestant, obviously, nor am I. And nor am I a Baptist. I do go to a Baptist church currently. and I'm okay with the one we're going to at the moment. But again, I have no concerns and no fears of walking right out that door. If you ain't falling in line, then I'm falling out that door. That's all there is to it. But up like, well, I've made a commitment. I've been here for 5 months, 6 months. I just can't leave. Why? We tend to do that sometimes. Now, I'm not saying leave because you didn't like a particular person's attitude. I mean, that's a whole different, that's kind of silliness. And I will agree with the fact that sometimes Christians can disagree a little bit, right? But the problem with that is that same line of thinking, the frame of thought, opens the door to a lot of disagreement. And so when there's a massive amount of disagreement, you're not on the same page at all. I mean, someone asked me one time, well, where's your line? Well, obviously, if you don't believe Jesus died for your sins, if you think Jesus is just a prophet, some dude, some pretty awesome teacher, yeah, we're gonna have to part ways on that one. That's kind of a ways parter, I'm moving on at that point. I'm out the door. So, but if you want to get into an argument whether it was, well, I think Paul died in. Well, I think Peter died in 82 AD. Well, no, it's 83 AD. Okay, I'm not splitting on that one. I'm not. I personally, I'm sorry. You can call me a heretic, but I'm not caring about if you think 82. I think it's 83. We're 1 year apart on it. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. Well, I believe it was raining. Yeah, I believe it was. I don't think it was raining. I think it was sunshine. Okay, I'm not. That's not gonna. No. It's not a part the way situation. But I'm sorry, people will part on the strangest things. I just don't understand. I don't understand. People will run to the hills. I've had it happen, obviously. I'll go back to that same person I was talking about. I remember we were doing this live stream together, and I never wanted to do it in the first place. But then, my wife was like, give it a shot, and I'm like, That's why I've always been, I don't know. And so I'm like, all right, this guy seems like he's trying, and let's do it. Let's do the show. I shouldn't say show because I've been accused of, you just treat it like a show. It's a show to you. Well, saying the word show and putting on a show like some people do is a little bit different. Remember, he said he and I wasn't a disagreement or argument that I was trying to call somebody out. And I remember it was about Ephesians. He said, you will not find the word pastor in the New Testament. And I didn't mean to. I just when it's in Ephesians. And I didn't realize that he would take that as a calling him out or something like that. It was just one of those things. When you're talking, I don't think pastor's even in the New Testament. I'm like, he just basically, I think it's in Ephesians. And then me, I'd be like, if someone said that, I'd be like, dude, I think it's in Ephesians. I'd be like, wait, is it really? Hold on. My bad. It isn't Ephesians. Well, I did not know that. How did I miss that? But I wouldn't go woke on you or anything like that and become a leftist. I tell you that right now. But I remember that person calling me the next day and saying, hey, why would you do something like that? And call me out and say something like that and all this kind of stuff. And are you trying to find something wrong with me? And I'm like, oh, you talk. It was that moment right there. I was like, yeah, something's not right here. What's that old saying? There's something rotten in Denmark. And again, when I say that, I do truly wish them the best. I hope he does well. I hope he sees the errors of some of that way. And I have given him. It does. We're supposed to forgive, and which is I've done. I've moved on. Don't care. Not a big deal to me anymore. I don't concern myself. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this world, though, that do that. Right? We have Christians in this world who take some odd offense to things and feel like they're being attacked all the time. Like, that's a victim mentality. Yeah, as a King James Bible believing Christian, yeah. Will I be attacked more than anyone else under the sun for their Bible? Yeah. without a shadow of a doubt. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, I will tell you right now, if you go on the internet, you'll find more people in the secular world and religious world who mock or try to put down the King James Bible more than any Bible. And so it's just those are the facts. That's the facts in front of you. That's all there is to it. I don't have to tell you. You know, it's just that's. And I don't actually mind. Again, those type of things will tend to believe that lead you to understand that you're right. And then there are those who go, see those, that's what gives them power. They think they're right. It's like, oh my goodness, you guys. That's another reason I don't like debates. It's just such an attack between Christians out there in this world. It's just they go after each other. They want to devour each other. It's just bizarre to me. But I also realize the time frame in which we're in. We are in a part of the end times now. Everybody likes to try to figure out which part of the end times. You know, we're definitely in the end times. This is it. We got like a year left. We got 6 months left. We got this month, and I'm like that. I do not believe that we are in any way, shape, or form supposed to be figuring out when the end, like when the end does come. I really don't believe that. No way and no how do I believe that. We're not supposed to be. We're not in the predicting business. You know, I was on a channel the other day, and I did make a joke. I have a globe behind me. I really do gotta get a flat Earth behind me. Maybe that's stirring up trouble, but I can't help myself. Sometimes it's humorous. Although all that's coming down anyways. All this stuff behind me, that's coming down. I miss the whiteboard. I miss putting stuff up on the whiteboard and going through things. That's just who I am. So I'll eventually get around the whiteboard. I finally got the other part of the wall on that side of my pod shed. I like to call it the pod shed, where I do my podcasting in a shed that I tried to, put walls up and everything in. I'm getting closer. We've got another part of that wall up, and I'll get this wall up. I'm grounded. I think some of you already know I'm grounded from buying any more books until I get more bookcases, because I got them in boxes down here now. They're just piling up everywhere, and I gotta slow down. But so I mean we got. Oh, I didn't even know you guys were all still here. Proverbs guys still here. Just to clarify, is this Brother Stephen? Because I think you're the only one that uses that, right? At Proverbs Guys Ministry. Just you. I feel weird saying Proverbs Guy, because if it's you, I just like to say, hello, Steve. Which, by the way, excellent name. I've said that before. But yeah, that's my take on that. That would be kind of where I'm standing on that. Yes, it is. Okay. Yes. Good. That way I can say hello, Brother Stephen, or talk to you, and because now I know who it is. Like I said, that's the way to spell it. We said that the other day. And I have enjoyed some of the time on your channel. I have enjoyed a little bit of it. Some of it I could do without. But I guess we could say that about any of channels. I can sit here for 3 hours and one could say, I enjoyed an hour of it. But 2 hours of your show, Stephen, I didn't really care for it. I'm okay with that. Somebody says it to me. Yeah, you're the founder of the ministry, but I am Proverbs Guy. We're all Proverbs guys here, though. That's fine. I like that, but I am. Yeah. No, I'm trying to watch some of you guys' content or your content on your channel. So I'll try. I find Brother Rich interesting. Well, I gotta stop calling him brother. I don't know him well enough to call him brother yet, so I apologize for that. But I've definitely enjoyed my conversation with Brother Amicus. I think Brother Nameless as well. Enjoyed his content or his conversations. I like what he's brought to the table. The other guy I can do without the. I have to give you credit though. I have to give you this credit. You are very gracious and more patient in having a guy like Diamond Dave on. I'm not saying I don't like that, like I hate the guy. But you've given him much more rope or much more, not rope, much more leeway than I have, and I think I commend you for that, because anyone with 30% knowledge could put more holes than Swiss cheese in his logic and his thought process. But I also know that we need to be about love and tolerance to a certain tolerate to a certain level. That's and you do, and I have to say you do very well that. I'm not as tolerant about those things because I probably, and Rich might get mad at me, but I probably would have the same, maybe a longer fuse to light, but I think his fuse is probably shorter than mine. But yeah, I guess bearded guys have shorter fuses. That's how I'm looking at it. And then hello, 21st century psalmist. Hello. Thanks for being here. I don't know who you are, but thanks for being here. I just saw that. I'm sorry. Like a Christian Fox News. So you'll probably find this interesting. Originally, the title of my channel was Everyday Man of God. And then I changed it because I thought, or Everyday Man of God, but I changed it because I didn't want to feel oh, okay. Well, welcome. Very interesting, because at least you married someone with the proper name. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just saying that. I'm just throwing it out there. So, well, now my wife can actually be part of the conversation because there's another woman in here. That wasn't derogatory. I was just saying there's another woman in here. But yeah, so my original channel was what it's titled now. And I thought that was being too selfish, too self-serving, too precocious. Hey, look at me. I'm Everyday Man of God. I'm a ministry. So I'm very careful about that as well. I'm a very cautious person when using terminology or words. Any type of verbiage, I just try to be careful of those things. No, I'm not some college graduate. Shoot, I quit high school. I went then tried to go to college, then dropped out of college because I made money instead. But anyways, I sidetracked there. But and then I was like, I'm gonna change it. So I changed what was called the BAC network. This is the reason I'm saying this is because you just said this here, Christian Network. And my thought process for that was the BAC stood for the Born Again Christian Network. And I thought the same thing. I felt there's got to be, and I felt like this for years, a Christian underground, so to speak, just not led by Harriet Tubman. There has to be a Christian underground because there's going to come a time. I've written a few books. They're not good, and they've sold almost nothing. But I didn't mind, so I like that. I'll send it free to people, any of my books. But I was working on, and I put it to the side, but I was working on a book kind of based on underground idea of Christian network. And because I do feel that there's possibly going to be a time where we will not see each other here on an internet platform. As much as I can't stand YouTube and Google and all that, we are using that. And so far, we're able to get away with being on this platform, even if we are being suppressed or shadow banned and all those type of things. So yeah, and that was my name. But then I woke up one day and it was weighing really heavy. No, I didn't see Jesus at the end of my bed or anything like that. I woke up one day and I said, and I just really weighed heavy on my heart. I don't like using that terminology either because the way some people twist it. You need to go back to your original title of your name. The original channel is what you should have. Go back to the original channel. So, which I did. Okay, that was a long-winded story, but that's what I did. I went back to the original name. We've got 10 hosts doing 7 shows a week. Well, there you go. Nice, nice. I don't know all of your hosts. I've only seen a couple of them, obviously. Don't be offended. I can only catch what I can catch because I'm busy doing all what I do. So I don't get to watch as much as I like it. People suggest things all the time, and I try to get to them. I think there was one guy, it took me like 5 months to get around to watching the guy's videos because someone suggested it, and I said I would look at it, and I would never tell somebody I'm going to and not do it. So it takes a while to do things. We want to get to 24 hours of Christian content from small ministries for 6 days a week. Well, I hope you get there. I hope that works out. God opens the doors and you can get there. My original name on YouTube was Proverbs 27:17 Ministry. I changed it to Proverbs Guy and later Proverbs Guys. See, so I'm not the only one who goes through the name changes and just like, should this be it? Should this be it? Because I didn't want a channel that sounded like it was all about me. You know, it's like, oh, it's about me. And I know that you're new here and we just met, but my whole this is to make this channel or what I do on Friday night is more of a we the people version of YouTube. Or of Christians getting together and having a conversation, just talking about different things and just life itself. Nothing major has to be done. And yes, we'll go down. We're talking about Bibles for a few minutes. We talked about practical living at work. I mean, we just talked about different things, and I think that's missing. You know, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think we all went through the same thing. Is this name humble enough? Yeah, that is exact. That's a good way of saying it because you don't want to come off as it's about me because it's not about me. If you're a born again Christian, it's about all. It's all of us. It's not us. And I think there are far too many supposed Christians who are making it about themselves. And yes, is it our channel? Did we put the channel? Yes, but really it should be God's channel. In a lack of better phrasing, is God's channel. We have these channels, and God has blessed us with the ability to have content. And people know you have to, YouTube is why you have it. No, God has given us the ability of whatever we're doing and given us the strength after praying to make these channels, to have these things out there. So I think, yeah, that's huge. It's you do not want like be that guy. Like this guy's all about him. And yes, I'm talking about me sometimes. I don't have people on. I know you have usually like you have them open panels. The reason I do open panels, and I was just talking about this earlier. I like to do open panels. My only concern is I'm not interested in having a bunch of non-believers on my channel. Like I wouldn't have Diamond Dave. Sorry, Diamond Dave. I'll probably talk to you on the other channel. But I'm not interested in that. I'd rather be speaking. Yes, this Friday night fellowship is kind of it is an echo chamber, which I always say I'm against echo chambers, but it is an echo chamber. Now, I make other videos. I don't have a problem with other people coming in and atheists or JWs and talking and commenting and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with it, and I've never banned anybody. Not that I'm aware of anyways. Brother Jorge is a moderator, but I don't think we've ever banned anyone. I don't, unless you're going to use foul language and things of that nature. Like I said, for me, I think it's not too much for me to expect dignity and maturity at a certain level of having a conversation. That's if you can't bring that to the table, then I'm not interested in something like that. So your goal is more to edify the brethren. You know, I don't know if I think we all want to edify each other, right? I don't think I try to focus. I try to be here and create an area of safety. I do believe in exhortation. I think that's the biggest thing I got a problem with. I think the lack of exhortation in this amongst Christians. We're too busy attacking one another and finding flaws in one another. Because goodness knows we all have them, and we definitely all have flaws, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think we're more focused on that. Now, people are going to err. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do things they shouldn't do. Most of the time, that's usually newbies, so to speak. But I wish I had, and I wish I could tell you what my goal is. But to me, it's like shouldn't be my goal, other than creating an area people can talk amongst each other. And like I said, I don't have a problem with doing open panel. I've wanted to think about doing that and having other people on conversations, but I think sometimes, and again, this is where I have to commend Brother Stephen here. I'm not interested in going down these long road. Am I reformed? I am I am a born again Bible believing Christian. So I originally gave my life. Originally, it's a bad way of saying it. I gave my life to the Lord back in 1989 in a Honda Civic on 26 Crescent Street in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and a light went off, and I backslid. I would probably, if you were going to put a title on me, I would probably lean pre-1860. I'm sorry. I can hear a motorbike flying down the way up. We have a long driveway, but even I can hear the motorbike. And it's like bothering me. I would be a pre-1860s Baptist, more likely, if I was anything. But a lot of your denominations or your taglines or your titles are not even the same as when they originally were. So currently going to Baptist church, yes. I believe the teaching right now, the biblical teaching in this particular church is good and is spot on and it's excellent. But that could change. And I don't have a problem with walking out the door. Now, I do believe in the actual New Testament church of just being in houses. I believe in that theory. So we are looking at doing that at home. I'm probably being very long-winded, but if we all know each other long enough, you'll find that I can be long-winded about explaining something that should be probably a simpler way of doing things, explaining it. But I don't get in. I'm not into titles, and because you'll meet a Pentecostal, they're not really Pentecostal. You'll meet a charismatic, but they act more Pentecostal. You'll meet a Baptist, but you're like, well, they seem like the charismatic, but that charismatic seems like a Baptist. I used to make the joke that I'm too charismatic to be Baptist, and I'm too Baptist to be charismatic. I also tell people that I don't even say it anymore. I wish I even remember how I said it. What is this? I'm a Baptist man. What I used to, I'm an outlaw. I can't. But yeah. But here's the thing with being a Reformed or a Calvinist or an Arminian, a Pentecostal, a Charismatic, a Methodist, a Lutheran, an Episcopal. Everybody, and I was actually almost made a video the other day. I made a video about morals and Legos, how interchangeable they can be, but the buffet table of Bibles is just like the buffet table of religions. Everybody's taking a piece, right? The Lutherans got one part right. Pentecostals got one part right. They all have one part they got right, but all of them don't have it right. You know what I mean? So that's why I've always said I'm strictly a Bible believing Christian. And which is funny is in today's world, that's more of a terminology like King James Onlyist, which did not exist before. People even in and I'll get pushback on this. People even in a Pentecostal church were more godly in 1970 than they are in the Pentecostal church of today. The people in a Methodist church have been more godly, more biblical oriented in 1970 than they would be today. So things change. I'm not saying they were right on the money then. I'm saying those titles mean absolutely nothing anymore because it's so twisted and all over the place. And that's why I just say, no, I stick to the Bible. With the Bible or what it says. It takes a lot of grace and time invested talking with guys like Diamond Dave, but he's worth it. If we can even win one Diamond Dave, I agree with that. I have more patience with, and I deal with this every day, by the way. I deal with Diamond Dave's not Diamond Dave's, but probably every day in my own world. And I'm fine with it and I deal with that. But when I'm doing it here, I'm not interested in going down certain avenues that I think are not worth it, not edifying, not glorious. But you are right in the fact that we put what we call gospel bags, right? Gospel tracks. We go around, me and my two sons, we drive all around wherever we can, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, Tellico Plains, Inglewood, and we put them in the mailboxes. And I'm not telling you this to try to say, oh, look what we are doing. That's not what I mean. We're just having conversation. But I also say, I'm like, if one of those tracks, one piece of that hits anybody, and I don't even have to know who it is, that doesn't matter. It's not about it's not about seeing if we made the difference. We're doing what we need to do. And if it helps one person out there, I don't care if we put 1 million tracks out on the road, 1 million Bibles we put on it, which is I've always had a dream of, not an actual dream, but putting a Bible into every single mailbox in the country would be pretty cool, or into every hand. But I think if we can do that, that's extraordinary. Yeah. But yeah, I deal with it every day at work, and I'm dealing with 3 or 4 guys right now, and it's a juggling act because when somebody comes and tells you something or asks you something, and it's a lot, and I love it because it's accountability too. I love that people know where I stand when I'm in a workplace, because what better way to keep yourself legit, because those people will have a YouTube channel, or even people will go to a church and they are not the same people on the outside, but no, they're not being held accountable because nobody sees. So after we win them over, they need a biblically solid YouTube community. That's where Proverbs Guys Ministry comes in. Solid biblical Christ following, obedience, discipleship. And that was the thing of why I fell back in those days, is there was no discipleship, and everything is okay. Everything's fine. We're all sinners, this and that. I'm like, are there no grounds here? Are there no restraints? Is there no restrictions? It's like, you do whatever you want. I disagree with that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of titles. I guess the more accurate way to ask, are you a free will? I'm a free will guy. When you talk about predestination, if you want to differentiate between foreknowledge and predestination, I don't hold into the Calvinist idea of predestination. That's where I fall onto it. I'm a free will guy. I believe I don't believe in a dictating God. I don't believe in a dictator, even though people will say, "Oh, the God of the Old Testament was killing people left and right." I don't really go into all that. I don't get into that. But yeah, no, I free will. And okay, hello, glad to hear. Okay. And that's probably why we're so imperfect and we make mistakes. Because, I don't like John MacArthur. I don't like John MacArthur. I don't care for him. Never did, actually, even way back in the day. I'm not going to speak. I tried, he's dead. I'm not going to try to bash the guy while he's dead. But I don't really, no reason to bash him. There's no point. But yeah, no, I'm not yeah. No. I've never understood that aspect of things. For me, I don't see the validity in it at all. That's just me. But yeah, so you guys may not care for me all that much because I am a King James onlyist. And like I said before, you might have been here earlier, but I became a King James onlyist before I even knew what it was. I did not even know there was this whole movement. I remember being taught that about the King James Bible, the people of King James, they're just nuts. They're just weirdos. I'm like, okay, it's a weird thing to just say. All King James people are weirdos. That's how I grew up, and that's not what I knew. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. I'm like, it's weird to me that you could just classify a whole group of people who read a Bible that they are evil and messed up. And, so that's a problem I have too when they say, oh, every Bible is the same, but don't read the King James. What? To me, it's an odd. It's like, why would you really single that out? It took years later to realize, what was going on. You should interview Dr. I'm not an interviewer. I don't have those capabilities or skills. I don't, about creation versus evolution. I can get you his calendar request site. Yeah, and I appreciate that thought, the idea, but there's one person I'll probably have on, mainly because I do enjoy his stuff to a certain point, to a certain degree. So I probably will have. I'll try. We've talked once about it, and maybe we'll make something up. But I wouldn't even know what to ask the guy. You know what I mean? I know who he is. You mentioned a place he has in Alabama. Where is that in Alabama? Maybe if I got time, I'll swing by there. Because we'll be in the Gulf Shores at the end of next month. We're going down to the Gulf Shores, and then I'll start my new career after I get back from vacation, of course. But yeah, but I think you said Alabama. I'm pretty sure you said it. I'm hardcore King James preferred, and that's another new terminology I've learned, which is weird. That seems to be a newer thing as well. Just like the idea of saying, I'm a Bible-believing Christian. We didn't have to say that before, but because that is now entered into our lexicon of speech. It's interesting how that has happened. But I also am a King James preferred because it's the only one I prefer. It's the only one I'll read. Now, I am a Textus Receptus, and a Textus Receptus is more of a newer thing for me. I really never got into the Textus Receptus. I don't believe you need the Greek to know that the King James is the preferred version. But I do have a Textus Receptus up there, and I like learning different things of different languages, diverse tongues. But I enjoy a little bit of that stuff. It's just, I don't think you need it. I just enjoy it. I'm anti King James. I read the NASB. Yeah, I have that up there, New American Standard Bible. I have the original, actually, 1970 when it came out. I'm a paper guy, so that's another thing about me. I am not big on apps. And the only reason I'm not big on apps is I've already found a couple of mistakes. I made a video on one of them a while back because I have the NIV. So I have the 2011, the 1984, and the 1976. And I see that's not it. Where's the 2011? Huh. As I say it now, it's probably one of the boxes over there. I got too many things all over the place. It should be up there. But also the 1976 version. I can't even see that one up there. What did I do with that one? Huh. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. I knew it was somewhere. You could tell it's from the 70s the way they're dressed here. Yeah, this is the 1970. I keep saying 76. Am I wrong? Is it 76? Or 78? Yeah, 76. Okay. 1976. So, and I can't remember the verse, and I apologize for that. But I noticed it. I don't know what led me to look it up. I just decided to look it up. I was looking at this verse, and I don't usually own the Bible apps. I'm like, I wonder what it says on one of them Bible apps. And I pulled up, I think it was Bible Hub. Yeah, I think it's Bible Hub, right? It's got the blue background. Put it on the Bible Hub, and it did not read the same. It had a different word in it. So I then took out, okay, I looked at the 6, the 84, from 2011, and they all matched. But the app, the one on the internet, did not match. And there was another one, too, I found that the word had been changed, but it's not in the other. So, therefore, I just like the paper copy because the paper copy is harder to change, I guess. I do cross-reference to KJV. Is Lenox, Alabama. Thank you. Sorry. Again, I was long-winded. Lenox, Alabama. All right. Agreed. Amen. Agreed. I'll agree with that all day long. Lenox, Alabama. I'll have to look up where Lenox is. I don't know if that's on my way or not. I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. There's a lot of things I got to check out. There's a Huguenot Park, or a French Huguenot Park. It's somewhere in Florida. I wish Brother Calvin was with us tonight. I think it's in Jacksonville or Tallahassee. I can't remember now. I have it written down somewhere else. I got just too much stuff. I got notes everywhere, paper everywhere. I'm a hoarder of information everywhere. But I have that somewhere. But that was an interesting place. Another place is interesting is okay, there you go. Thank you. It's 70 miles north of Pensacola, Florida. What is? Oh, Lenox. All right, so okay. All right, Lenox, Alabama. It's possible that I could probably hit that one. Because I know after while we're in Gulf Shores, we're going to shoot over to Pensacola. But then I don't know if I want to do 70 miles. So I'm trying to fit in the Huguenot Park if I can get to there after a brother had told me about it. I'm like, oh, let me check that out. I did look at I can't remember where it's located. It's in Georgia, I think. It's in Georgia. There's a park, there's a place built by the Church of Christ. I can't remember what it's called. What? The cabins are free. They feed you, free tours. What's this, at the Kent Hovind Museum? Or didn't he have a dinosaur park like a million years ago? A million years ago. Dinosaurs in a million years. Sorry. The fact that the way I said it that way, I found that humorous. Lenox, Alabama. I'm sorry, Kent Hovind. I'm going to look it up now. It's okay. You will go for a day and try to move there. It happens all the time. Such a Holy Spirit-filled place. Nice. It's awesome. Well, when I came to Tennessee, we ended up moving here. So we came to vacation in Tennessee. Now, I live on the eastern side of Tennessee, and I think Brother Rich is also on the eastern side. But I tell you what, I moved down here. We came on vacation, and we got a little farmhouse, Airbnb, Verbo thingamajiggy, and we got that, and it's beautiful. No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, that was the second time. The first time we stayed in Maryville. We were in Maryville on our way on 321, I think it was, and then we were Townsend, Mass, and not Townsend, Mass. Townsend is a town in Massachusetts. Townsend, Massachusetts. Townsend, Tennessee there. And as we were driving down to Townsend, I looked at my wife, which you shouldn't do while driving, but I did. So I looked at my wife. I says, "Oh, we got to move here. We got to move here. We're moving here." And so the second trip we came down, that's the one we stayed in Tellico Plains. and we stayed in Tellico Plains. And my thought was to be living in Tellico Plains. I'm like, oh yeah, live in the mountains out here, get a couple of acres, if not more, um, and live in Tellico Plains. We don't live in Tellico Plains. We're not very far, I'll tell you that. And then on the third time we came down, we stayed in a town called Von Orr, and that's when we decided to. We spent the only without vacation. That was just a hunting trip. We were hunting for homes to live down here, so sell the house up north and come down here. Parts of where I live, I don't care for. There are cows across the road. There's a cornfield on the other side of me. There's a little bit of woods on this side, but there is a neighbor through the woods over there. That's the only downside. But yeah, we're doing what we got to do, and we enjoy living in Tennessee. Tennessee is a place this side of Tennessee. There's always a view, and there's always there. I don't think there's a day. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a day that goes by that I'm not driving home or driving anywhere around here and just looking out the window or looking out my window. Wow, God, you are awesome. What you've made and created is phenomenal. Feels like God's country. Well, God created all of it, everything, but it's when you can drive and you'll look at the Smoky Mountains, you look at the Turkey National Forest, you go to the Terre Haute Skyway, when you look at the knobs out there, Tennessee's a beautiful place. I know people who've gone to other states. They've been to Colorado, Montana. When they get to Tennessee, they say nothing's like Tennessee. I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. You aren't far from Ron Wyatt's home museum. You told him about him. That's the guy with the ark. I do. That's a long time ago. Wasn't that early '80s? I feel like that was maybe it's not early '80s. Is it early '80s? Pretty sure. But anyways, I did not know that. To be honest with you, I never knew he had a place down here. Ron Wyatt's home museum. I'll have to get up in that direction at some point. All right, let's see. Let me write these things down. Kent, Hovind, Lenox, Alabama. I'm not going to write down the other place, Jacksonville, or the Huguenot place, because I already know it. I already know that I wrote it down somewhere. I have to plug in my phone real quick because I don't like to be on my phone very often, but because my shed, it's a 12 by 20 shed. I call it the pod shed because this is where I do everything. But my wife is in the house over there, and my father lives with us. So if anything happens, I always have my phone ready just in case. I actually had to leave in the middle of a live stream one time. My father had fallen, so I had to take off, and I forgot to shut off the camera. And I guess the live stream kept on running for another hour on mistake. I had to apologize for some people on that one. When I got out here, I was like, oh no, I had to shut it off. I was like, oh no. But it is our duty to take care of our parents if we can. Not everyone is in a position to do so. We are fortunate enough where we are blessed enough to be in the situation that we were able to take care of my father. Of course, me and my father have our differences on biblical point of views. He's a much different cat than I am. I'm not a big fan of cats. We do have 2 cats and a dog. And we were going to get goats, but I didn't want them. We'll see how that goes. But, yeah. I think I just rambled on about a lot of that. So I'm 2.5 hours in. Usually can go about 3 hours, depending on the night. Some nights I have to cut it short because I got to get up early in the morning. Well, one of those mornings is tomorrow because I got to drive down to Georgia. Hopefully buy a box truck down in Georgia for the new, going back to driving truck. Started my own business. I waited and we prayed about it, and so and we come up with a name with it. So we meditated for a while, not meditated like yoga meditated, and we came up with the name Shield and Armor Transport Ephesians. That was the reason for that. Shield and armor, transporting armor of God. So that's why it's called Shield and Armor Transport. I think it's gonna. I'm hoping to build a network of vehicles. If this business takes off, I can buy a couple more trucks and hire some more born again Christians that can work for a company that they're proud to work for. That works for the Lord, glorifies the Lord, and just they work for the Lord. God is why we're here, why we go out there. I mean, I always tell people there's not enough phrases, there's not enough adjectives that can exist out there. There's not enough phraseology. That's a word I made up, by the way. I don't know the word. I coined that a long time ago. Put that on a shirt, phraseology. But yeah, we've got. You got to be careful when you say we got work to do, because then we go, you believe in works. I'm like, you're a goofy. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're taking that approach. But so yeah, we do talk about a lot of things, and yes, the Westcott Hort thing is, and the whole that thing. That's my field, I guess. The field of study, as Nameless said earlier this evening. I enjoy origins. I enjoy etymology of things of that nature, of the biblical realm. I guess people getting to know me for the first time. So yeah, free will guy. I'm a pre-1860 Baptist. The Baptists weren't part of the world. They weren't so worldly as they are today. So that's where I'm at. We don't hate people because they may not be on the same page or agree on the same things, and we don't go around hating them. It's not a thing, unfortunately, because I'm sure some of you all have heard people talk about how mean and angry the King James people are. I'm like, what King James people are you talking to? You ain't talking to me. I can tell you that right now. Or some of my brothers that I know that you're not talking to them. So that's a fallacy that all the King James onlyists. I take the term. I know you are anti-King James onlyist. I take the term, and I accept it for the fact that I do believe the King James only. I believe that is the best Bible. But I think I take it more so because people put the moniker on me. So, hey, go ahead. I've been called worse in my lifetime. I'll tell you what. Growing up, I've been called a lot worse. There's nothing that can phase me, so to speak. Yeah, not to be. I was just talking to somebody one day. I says, it's amazing if you've gone through things in your life that the little name calling doesn't bother me. I have been sliced with a knife in my leg. I've been stabbed in the back, and I've been shot at. And this is a long time ago. I'm not saying these things to be precocious. So when somebody wants to call me a name, it's not. Oh no, not that name calling me. Oh no. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. And that's the thing. And sometimes that name calling isn't even from an atheist or a Buddhist or a Hindu or a JW or a Mormon. It's from the guy 2 pews down from you in church. We were indoctrinated, yes, to believe everybody in a church building was just such a godly person. Not true. We all know that now. We all know that as you get older. You just know. I got to hand it to my father. Him and I are not on the same page on a lot. He is a Pentecostal, charismatic, supernatural, Sid Roth, Oral Roberts, Kenneth Copeland kind of guy. I am not anywhere near that. But what I do respect about him is he's been kicked out of churches. He's been kicked out of churches for calling out pastors for being wrong. or not along with the flow. So whether I agree with whatever it was that happened, I don't know, but at least he had the guts enough to stand up for something in those bills and say, no, I think it's wrong. And he wouldn't shut up about it. And he was kicked out. So even the Pentecostals will excommunicate you. They will do it. They'll do it in a heartbeat. No doubt about that. And again, not a Pentecostal. I guess you can follow the whole line of lineage of where it comes from. I'm not going to get into it obviously tonight, but you can follow that trail and be lovely where you see that, where that ends up. And I don't mean just was it Frank Palm and was it Edward what's his name, Lake, Edward G. Lake or John Lake or something like that. Some of these guys were from kind of my neck of the woods, Vermont and area, New Hampshire, up there. That's where they were. But you can go all the way back to Australia. So a lot of people don't know that. So I like the origins of things. I like to really go back to where something started. Who was associated with what? Who wrote what? Whose mentor was whose mentor? Who you study under for your doctorate? Who's your, a lot of those things. And if it's not Pentecostal, it's Roman Catholic Church. Just saying, that's a whole other thing we can get into. I think Brother Amicus would have a lot to say on that. And that's he's my brief conversation with him off the air on, or whatever we call it. What do you call it? The back room, back channel, back thing. I don't know. What do you call it when you shut down the live stream? And apparently you keep talking. I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest with you. Well, those debate channels, I think, do it. But I was talking to him back there, and I think it's probably only with him that I disagree with. But it looks like a lot of elsewise we were on the same page. So even that, if I met just one person from someone's channel, that's why I said when I found your channel, I didn't find your channel, to be honest with you. It was there. It just popped up. So, and that usually means something. Something has come from every place that I've endeavored to go in. There's one live stream. I don't think I'll ever go back on. If I'm moved to do so, I will. If God moves me to do it, but not a fan of the channel for multiple reasons. But met a brother in Christ on that channel who asked me on another channel, and he's not as often on that channel, but he's on the other channel. So even if you meet one person, so I tend not. I was just talking to my father about this the other day. It's not ours to question why God puts us in certain places, certain situations. You just roll with it. God gets it for a reason, whatever it may be. You may not know until 5 years from now. You just may not know. And my throat's dry tonight. I was working with a lot of pulp, so that got into my throat, unfortunately. Pulp is just sustainable, supposedly, wheatgrass or switchgrass that you can then make into recyclable plates. I'm not going up top down. I don't believe in sustainability as when it comes to these plates that you buy, because you buy multiple plates. Right? Oh, they're good for the earth. Well, pottery back in a certain day with copper inside, sometimes copper outside, depending on the glaze on inside of those bowls, will last you 20 years. That one bowl is sustainable. That's sustainable forever. Now, I was at a work meeting listening to some nonsense about, we believe everything is everything you build oil and everything we can make just from the switchgrass and grass and recyclable. I'm like, that's fine and dandy. But you used fossil fuels, oil, acids, all the things you said you could do without to make plates from China, you're just making a different product. The trucks that you move your product in is using the fossil fuel gas and things like that nature. So I always think it's funny when people do that. I was just thinking about that now. It's like, oh, I own a Tesla. I'm saving the planet. No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah. You want to own a Tesla? Go own a Tesla. That's fine. Go own a hybrid. I don't care. Cool. Good for you. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. I don't think I've ever looked at anybody driving a Tesla or driving a 73 Ford Mustang, a Mach Mustang, or a 69 Camaro, or a Kia or a Hyundai went, yeah, they're saving the planet. They're doing it right. Oh, sorry, that was a thought process on my mind. And yeah, definitely. I'll put the link in there. I honestly don't know how to put the link in there. Brother Jorge knows how to do it. He's, I think he's dealing with his children at the moment. He's probably settling them down for the evening. So, I'll figure out one of these days and put in a conversation link and have it on there. And you just won't find it. Your type of open panel, Brother Stephen, if you're still watching, I don't think I'll ever have here. It's just not, because it would be 9 hours long, and we'd have to go diving in down these roads, and I'm just gonna not let certain things fly. So brother, you do what you're doing there, man. You do a wonderful job. I'll tolerating a lot of things and having a lot of different people moving parts in there. I think that's fascinating. That's why when I've been on a couple times, I remain, or like the last time, I remained a little quiet and just stay in the background, and I just pick my moments to speak. I don't always feel the need to talk a lot on anybody else's live stream because I do enough of it on my own. My big mouth is running all the time, so not a big deal. I don't need to be, but brother, for whatever reason, I am on your channel at the not to say I don't want to be there. I'm just saying I don't have a better way of saying it. God has me there for a reason, for the moment, for whatever reason it may be. I don't know. I don't question what God tells me or leads me. If I'm led in the direction, I go in that direction. And whatever comes from it. There are certain topics I have no interest in. I'll tell you, your last one, I was like, okay. I went, oh man. I was like, yeah, there's a whole conspiracy of moon landing. I'm probably a little more on Rich's side on that one. What interests me about the gentleman on there, and I'm not talking smack about him or anything. I can't remember his name. It's not Amicus. Oh my goodness, Greek guy. I forgot his name. Wow. Hearts of Stone or Flesh or something like that. I'm okay with his theory or his idea of not believing in it, but his is not persuasive at all. I try to see I look at things from, is that something that could sway me one way or the other, or the proof of? But I tend to believe it's more government trickery on both sides. So that's how I feel about that. That's how I look at it. So I don't believe. I believe that it's less likely to fake something now, or more difficult to fake anything now than it would be 30 years ago. There's too many opportunities of leaks and so forth, and I'm not going down that road too often. But yeah, so I just, and I had to refrain, and you're a better man than me. I had to refrain myself with Dave there, because I was like, I've studied a little bit of his strain of his faith, to call it, and I'm like, buddy, it was just too many holes, and I'm like, you know what, this is not my channel. I'll mention a couple things and I'm going to back away and walk off, and I'll just not, you know. But I will say this: there are times when people come on to anybody's channel for one reason and one reason only, and that is to create strife, to create controversy, to create issues, to stir something up, just to stir it up and move on. That can happen. And right now, that I see with him, I had a gentleman who came on here before, same thing. I realized after a little bit of like, he's just talking, trying to create some sort of reaction or some sort of strife. Some people create strife, but because they strongly believe something, and, you know, want to convince you of something. The other people, they don't care. They just want to somehow create a problem. And if they can create a problem amongst Christians, they've accomplished what they wanted. They'll take the votes. They don't mind, because they accomplished the mission, and that was to divide. So that would be, for me, I'm leery of these things. I think Brother Nick is probably going to still be on. That guy, if you ever watch his channel, Brother Nick over at Revolution, I watch his stuff. Now that gentleman can go on for 9 hours. I don't agree with him on certain things, but there are certain things I'd like to talk to him about, and have him on my channel, because it's very interesting to me. And there's some things I disagree with him. I'd like to have a conversation with and agree. But let me ask you this question: if you're even still here, do you think it's okay to revise the King James Bible today? Do you think it's okay to make a new King James Bible? Let me rephrase that, because there is a King James Bible. I might make a separate video eventually on that, probably. I write down things as the day goes through. I write down things that I think about. And I was at church at the good old Baptist church there the other day, and talking about something. I don't know what it was, to be honest with you, but it made me think about something else, and I wrote it down. You know, so I'm like, oh yeah, that's something I'm gonna make. Oh, it was Morals and Legos. Interchangeable faith or interchangeable morality. But yikes. I'm 10:30 in. I think I've lost most of the crew, and boy, half the crew is not here tonight. Probably enjoying the weather. But yeah, so they'll there's a chance that you'll part ways with me, Brother Stephen. There's a chance. There's a chance, because I'm a King James onlyist. I am from the crowd, the minority, but I am a minority King James onlyist. I think there are people who, again, King James onlyists. And there's some King James onlyists, but then there are some King James onlyists, but not in the sense of, you know, of the Westboro Baptists and things of that nature. There are some good, just good, godly men that are King James that you won't even know about. They're not even interested in having a channel. They have no desire to do that, but they're you know, some of these guys, some of the guys that I know were critical text guys for years and attacked the King James, and they're King James now because they never took the time. So that's fascinating. All right, so we're what's it, 10:40? I know that I have to get up early in the morning because it's a 3-hour drive to where I got to go to buy a box truck. Well, I don't know if I'm going to buy the box truck. I'm going to go check it out. If it's up to par, then I will purchase it and then get that going. But that 3-hour drive from where I live. I know that I will look up Ron Wyatt's Home Museum. It's written right here. and Lenox, Alabama for Kent Hovine's place. I'm going to look at that. All right. Again, not as long as I usually am. I'm a little over 3 hours normally. I didn't used to be. If you look at my old live stream, it never was. But I hope to see your brother Steven again. I probably will see you again on your channel. I will definitely be, depending on the subject matter, I'll probably be popping. I do enjoy some of it. Some conversations I can do without, but others I think are valid and worthwhile, and I think it's pretty cool. And I think you do a good job. I do. I think to juggle what you're juggling, I think you do an excellent job at that. I think that takes a lot of patience, and so give credit where credit is due, I like to say. All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna start shutting it down. So we're almost 3 hours in. Another time we'll do maybe 7 hours. Who knows? But we'll get there one day. But no, I appreciate doing it. I got a lot of arms going on right now. But if you guys are interested in coming on eventually and stuff like that, I'd love to have you. And on the figuring out how to drop that link. I was trying to. Funny enough, when I was trying to, on the webcam, when your face isn't on, you got a picture in the background. Well, I have a letter right now, my letter S, but I was trying to download the picture of the background, so it just, instead of saying the letter S, it has the, just Everyday Man God Ministries, my little symbol there, or whatever to call it. But I couldn't get to work, and then I go on the StreamYard, because I use StreamYard at the moment. I have a pod from Spotify that I just don't do anymore. I just don't have the time. But it looks like they have Restream, that's where that's from, I think. But I go on a StreamYard, all of a sudden my background on the camera, it took me half an hour to figure out why I got there. Had it on there, and I don't know how it connected to the webcam through another direction. I'm like, what's going on here? You know how people have a green screen and they have stuff behind them, but that's what it looked like. I had a green screen. It took me forever. So I had just played some, because usually I put some music together. I try to have different music each week, but then I ended up playing one of my songs and then 2 other pieces of music intro, because I didn't have time to do it the other way. But man, you'd think by now, having Rumble, doing the podcast that I haven't done as much, having the other YouTube channel that I used to have, having this channel that I have, and all that, you would think I'd figure out how to get rid of the background, but nope. All right. Winding this down. God bless everyone. I appreciate Godspeed. God bless, and thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I do say this a lot. I am thankful and I am grateful, and I will continue to be so that y'all take the time. You saw fit to take the time to hang out for a little bit, and I appreciate that. God bless, and we will see you. I don't know who we are, but I'll see you next time around. I'm going to awkwardly hit the end stream button now.